Starting the Gemara on Kuf Zayin Amud Aleph, right in the beginning of the Amud. Omar Rove. So we were discussing over here a case that a person, a mistake or whatever, for whatever reason, ate before Kiddush or ate before Havdalah. So could you still make Kiddush on that night, or you wait till Shabbos morning to make Kiddush? And the same thing regarding Havdalah. Do you make Havdalah that night, or you wait until the next day? So there was a machlokes brought before about this. Because once you ate already, so now the Kiddush is not anymore, hasn't have that chshivas. You already ate before, so now you have to wait until tomorrow when you're going to make kiddush before you eat. So Amar Rava says hilches to'am mekadosh. The halacha is even if you ate, you still make kiddush. To'am, even if you ate, mavdal, you make avdallah. Umishalei kiddush be'erev Shabbos, and anyone that didn't make kiddush Friday night, which is another thing that we spoke about earlier in the Gemara, mekadosh v'haylech kol hayom kulai. You can make Kiddush anytime the rest of Shabbos. Ad Matzah Shabbos, until the end of Shabbos. Mishalei Hivdel b'Matzah Shabbos. You didn't make Havdalah on Matzah Shabbos. Ma'avdu v'haylach kol Shabbos kulai. You can make Havdalah the rest of the week, as we learned before. That's until Tuesday night. Ameimar, or until, Tuesday night. Yeah, we had before machlokes if it's only until Sunday night or until Tuesday night, but over here it says kol Shabbos kulai, means l'chayre until Tuesday night. Meimar pasach lalaha shmaite the Rave b'haylishna. Meimar, he said this psak din from Rave in the following lashon. He basically said the same thing with one distinction in the end. So he said, Amar Rave hilchase, the halacha is to'am mekadosh. If you ate, you still make kiddush. To'am mavdal. If you ate, you still could make avdallah that night. And mishalei kiddush be'erev Shabbos. If you didn't make kiddush Friday night, mekadosh v'aylach kol hayom kula, you can make kiddush the rest of Shabbos. Mishalei hivdal b'matzah Shabbos. If you didn't make kiddush on matzah Shabbos, mavdal v'aylach kol hayom kula. You could only make kiddush the rest of that day, which means only on Sunday and not until Tuesday. That's the only distinction that he said, different than what it said before. I saw that some say this difference between whether you can make Kiddush until Tuesday or only on Sunday is related to the point that I spoke about yesterday. If it's a Tashlumin, the Tashlumin goes until Tuesday. It can be Mashlum until Tuesday. But if the point is that the Iker Chiyuv of Avdallah continues, the Iker Chiyuv of Avdallah continues only the first day. Because the Yom and the Laila, it's the same day, so it only continues on Sunday. So that's why he holds only until Sunday. But we're passing, if you didn't make Avdallah, you can make Avdallah until Tuesday. Amrele Mar Yenuke or Mar Kshishe Bereid Rav Chiste. So these two children of Rav Chiste, they said le Rav Ashi. They said to Rav Ashi as follows: that Zimne Chode Ikla Ameima la Asrin. Once Ameima came to our city, to our place. V'lehavalon Chamra. We didn't have wine for him for Avdallah. So Asina le Shichre. We brought him beer. V'loyavdal. And he didn't want to make Avdallah on beer. Uvas Tvas. He went to sleep fasting. This is an expression that's used in the pasuk in Daniel. So the point is that he didn't make the Havdalah, and also he didn't want to eat before Havdalah. So there's a discussion in Rishonim about this. Does this mean that this is Meker Adin? That if you don't make Havdalah for whatever reason, Matzah Shabbos, you're not allowed to eat until you make Havdalah the next day? So many Rishonim say that what Rav Chiste did, what Ameima did was Midas Chassidus. If you don't have anything to make Havdalah on Matzah Shabbos, you're allowed to eat. And you make Havdalah tomorrow. He only didn't want to eat Midas Chassidus until he makes Havdalah. But other Rishonim say no, Me'ikar Adin, you're not allowed to eat until you make Havdalah the next day. Both opinions are brought in Shulchan Aruch. So Bekitza, he didn't make Havdalah because he wanted to have wine, Dafke. L'macha, the next day, Terachne v'aysine lechamra. I went and found wine, I brought him wine, v'avdal, and he made Havdalah v'toim midi, and he ate. L'shana, next year, suek lala asrin, he again found himself by Yos for a Shabbos, and lo yavalon chamra, the same thing occurred, we didn't have wine for him. So Saysine shichra, we brought him beer again for Havdalah. So now, Omar, he said, if so, I see that they're bringing me beer again, chamar medinahu. That means that this is the wine of the province. This is what they use it. They don't have wine. The first time they brought him beer, he thought, they're bringing me beer. They have wine, but they're bringing me beer. So he didn't want to use it. But now he realized they don't have wine. So therefore, this is the chamar medina. So Avdal, he made Avdallah, and V'toim midi, he was able to eat right then. So this is where you see that you make Avdallah on chamar medina. So the Gemara Shma Mina Tlas. From here you can learn three different halachas. Shma Mina, from here you see a mavdal b'tfilah, even after you say the atachin antanu and davening, the havdalah and davening, tzarech sheyavdal ala kais. You still have to make havdalah on a kais, and until then you don't eat. Shma Mina, second thing you see, asalei la'adam sheyechal kaidim sheyavdal. This b'chlal, this halacha that you don't eat before you make havdalah. Ushmamina, and the third halacha you see that Mishali Hivdal b'Matzah Shabbos. If you don't make Havdalah Matzah Shabbos, Mavdal v'Hailach Kol Shabbos Kula. That you can make Havdalah the rest of the week until Tuesday. I mean, the emes is, as Taisvus over here points out, you don't really see here in this story that you can make Havdalah until Tuesday because they brought him wine the next day. Taisvus says you really only see that Kol Hayom Kulai. But the Gemara uses the expression Kol HaShabbos Kulai because b'Payil we paskin that you could make until Tuesday. But from this story itself, you don't see more than until the next day when they gave him the wine.
So apparently, according to the Gemara Medina, subjective to where you are.
One second, I'll get to that in a second. But Rashbam points out the most basic thing that you see in this story. The Gemara does not say you learn out. The Gemara says you learn out three things. How about the fourth and most basic thing that you see in the story? That Chamar Medina is acceptable for Havdalah. So the Rashbam says that on that, the Gemara doesn't bring it because we're only talking about the Seder Havdalah. We're not talking about what kind of a wine or beverage you can use for Havdalah. But then the Rashbam says another thing. The fact that you can use Chamar Medina for Havdalah is a milsa de pshita. If you have no wine in the city, from this Gemara it comes out, the simple plot of the story is, when could you use Chamar Medina? If it's a place that there is no wine, there's no wine in that area. They only have Chamar Medina. That's what they drink. So in such a case, of course, it's Pashat, says the Rashbam, that there is no wine, that you can use Chamar Medina. Okay, so that's when you get to the Chamar Medina. So the simple pshat again of Chamar Medina is that there is no wine, and there's a big discussion in Rishonim. What does that mean? There's no wine in that village, there's no wine in that city, there's no wine in that area. B'chlal, how far around does it have to be? We'll come. That's the whole next Gemara over here. When you get to Kiddush, we'll see in a moment. But then there's the whole discussion in Paiskim, and until the Achrayim, there's a tshuva from Rabbi Moshe Feinstein about it. What exactly is Chamar Medina today? What is the gather of Chamar Medina? It has to be something. He says it has to be something which is like a chosh of a drink, not something that people drink as samazai. That has to be something that people establish like more of a pachavadig drink, whether it's beer or maybe in some places tea or coffee. So there's different gedarim exactly how you define exactly Chamar Medina. It can't just be Sprite or Coke or something like that. It has to be something that has a certain chshivas to it. Okay, so now the Gemara will discuss Chamar Medina b'negei to Kiddush. So boy minei, the question now was asked, the Bachya that is Geiris, boy minei Rav Chisda, Rav Chisda asked Rav Huna the question, Ma le Kiddushi ha-shichra. How about making Kiddush on beer? I mentioned yesterday, Taisa speaks about it, but here the Gemara goes through this. So he says, Omar, he said to him, Hashtana ma pirzuma, which was a beer made from barley. Ta'eni, beer made from figs. Va'asni, beer made from berries. These are better quality beers. There's like unique kinds of beers. The question was asked from Rav, whether you can make Kiddush on them. And Rav mirab Chia. And Rav asked the question from Rav Chia. V'Rav Chia mirebi. And Rebbe asked Rav Chia about this. And V'loi Pashatli, he did not answer that yes, you can. So shichre, when it comes to the usual beer, which in those times beer was made from dates, mibaye, do we need to say that we don't make Kiddush on it? So basically he's telling him, no, we don't make Kiddush on any kind of beer, even if it's a very good beer. So Nasavim, so when he heard this, that you don't make Kiddush on beer, so he thought that Kiddushi hudulay mekatshin nilaveh. So you don't make Kiddush on beer. Aval avdulim avdelinon. But Havdalah, you do make on beer. So Amalu Rav Chisda, so Rav Chisda told them, Hachi Amar Rav, this is what Rav said. So this is arguing on the story before from Ameima, Keshem Shem mekatshin olav. Just like you don't make Kiddush on beer, Kach Eim Avdilan olav. So too you don't make Havdalah on beer either. Kiddush and Havdalah have the same halacha. It Menami, we learned as well, Omer Av Tachlifa Bar Avimi Yom Shmuel, he said in the name of Shmuel, Kishem Shem Mekatshin olav, just like you don't make Kiddush on beer, Kach Eim Avdilan olav. So too you don't make Kiddush on beer, or you don't make Havdalah on beer either. Levi Shadale Rebbe, Levi once sent to Rebbe Shichra, sent him a very special beer. A beer of Bartleisar Magni, a beer that was used with the dates. 13 times they soaked different dates to make the beer with these dates. And Taimi have a basam tuve. The dates had a very good flavor. It was a very special beer. So Amar, Rebbe said, this kind of beer, such a good beer, so special. This is a kind of beer that you can make Kiddush on it, and you can sing and praise the Eibusher with all the praises in the world. Then Balaylia, at night, Tzarai, the beer gave him stomach issues. So now Amar, he said, Miyasran umefayis. It gives me stomach pains, but it's also appeases. Meaning that while I drink it, it's very tasty and it's very good. And as he said, it's worthy to be used to praise the Eibusher with it, even though at the same time, later at night, it's going to give me pain. Amar Rav Yosef said, Oder berabim, I'll make a vow, a neder in public, the loy ishti shichra, that I should not drink beer. So in other words, he's making it berabim, so he shouldn't be able to annul his vow. So you shouldn't drink beer because it gives you stomach issues. Taisus of here says that if you make a neder berabim, you still could annul your vow. It's only if you make a neder al das rabim, that you're saying that I'm doing it on the das of the people in the rabim, not just berabim. Okay, but he held that you make a neder berabim, you can't annul your vow. Omar Rave said, Ishti mezurion, I would rather drink the water that flax is soaked in. In other words, not something that's very tasty at all. I'd rather drink that, and I would not drink any beer because it's going to be tasty, but later it's going to cause me a pain. Rava said, to heavy shakyusei shichre, let a person mandik mekadesh shichre, a person that's mekadesh shichre, he makes kiddush on beer, let beer become his usual drink that he always uses, meaning that he should become poor and he should have no wine available ever to drink, and beer will become his drink. In other words, Rava held that you should not make kiddush on beer, and therefore he said this. Rav Ashkechei Rav Huna found Rav the Kaddish HaShichra, that he was making kiddush on beer. Amalei, so Rav Huna said to Rav, Shari Abba lemikni astiri mishichra, that Abba, which was the nickname used for Rav, began to make money, lemikni astiri, because Rav was making beer and he was selling beer, so he began making money with his beer, and therefore it became very chashiv for him, and it became something that he enjoyed a lot. So once it was chashiv, so he began making kiddush on it as well. Tana Rabbanon and Abraisa we learned, the Gemara here brings more opinions regarding this halacha, regarding kiddush and avdallah on beer. So in Abraisa it says, Ein mekatchen el alayayin. Kiddush is made only on wine. Ve'ein mevarchen el alayayin. Then the Abraisa also says, you only make a bracha on wine. So the Gemara immediately asks, Otu ashichre o maya miloi mevarchen alayu. Shahakal niyeh bedvarei. When you drink beer or water, you don't make a bracha. Shahakal niyeh bedvarei. What does it mean that you only make a bracha on wine? Amar Abaye hachikama. Not only regarding kiddush, you must have wine, but any kodesh shel bracha, for benching, for whatever other kodesh shel bracha it is, you only use wine. So till we were discussing kiddush and avdallah, now he's saying that for any kodesh shel bracha you have to have only wine. Tana Rabbanan and another brayso we learned, Ein mekatchen ala sheikha, you don't make kiddush on beer. Mishum Rabbi Elazar bar Shimon amru mekatchen, that you do make kiddush on beer. Okay, so that's the conclusion of it. It's a machlokes, and I mentioned yesterday, la halacha l'maaseh, Tosfos brings that b'negei to havdalah, the minig is that we do make havdalah on beer and on chamar medina b'chlal. B'negei to kiddush, Tosfos says that it's a machlokes, it's a suffix, yesh le'estapik and mekatchen ala sheikha. The Alter Rebbe brings this in Shulchan Aruch that it's a suffix, and if you don't have wine, you should rather make kiddush on challah and not on beer. Shabbos day is different. We discussed this yesterday. Shabbos day is different than Friday night. The Ikechiv of Kiddush is Friday night, so Chayre Shabbos day you should make on mashke and not on challah.
You
could. You should, yeah. Sash, should I mean if you don't have wine.
Not just the challah.
Yeah. Now the Gemara finishes off the sugya of Kiddush with the last point regarding something we had before, that when you make Kiddush, you have to taste from the Kiddush. So mat'imas yayin, how much you have to taste from the kiddush? Kol shuhu, just a tiny drop, not more than that. Rabbi Yosef by Yehuda, meloi lugmav, you have to taste a cheekful, which is one cheekful. How much is a cheekful? So there's a big discussion in Rishonim about this. Different people, every person's cheek is a different size. So what exactly is this? The Alter Rebbe brings the Shulchan Aruch, the opinion of Rishonim, that the average person, a cheekful is a roiv of a revius. That's how much you have to be taken from the wine. This is the shitta that we paskin like, that has to be a roiv revius. Omar Rav Huna, Omar Rav.
It's important to know the conscious of Kreis.
Correct. Roiv revius. Correct. Yeah, roiv revius.
Well, why don't make kiddush?
Yeah. One second. Omar Rav Huna, Omar Rav. V'chein Tani Rav Gidl de min Norish. Rav Gidl from Norish said, Hamakadosh v'to'am maloi lugmav yotza. If you made kiddush and you tasted a maloi lugmav, then you're yotza. V'mlav lo yotza. You didn't taste a cheekful, you're not yotza your kiddush. There's a machlekes, another machlekes Rishonim about this, whether the mekadosh himself has to be tayyim. The Alter Rebbe brings b'shem de go'ainim, that they held that only the mekadosh himself must be tayyim. If someone else is tayyim and the mekadosh himself was not tayyim, you're not yotza. But most Rishonim actually hold that the mekadosh himself doesn't even have to be tayyim. Someone else could be tayyim, and even if the mekadosh is not tayyim, you're yotza.
Someone else has to be more like
No, it has to be a malay lugmav, but someone else could be tayyim. It doesn't have to be you yourself. L'chatchila Alter Rebbe paskins, you should be tayyim yourself, because the Ga'ainim held that if you're not tayyim yourself, you're not yetza. Al derech you make in the 9 days regarding Havdalah. Yeah, well here we're talking about Kiddush. Yeah. Amar Rav Nachman by Yitzchak, Anot tanina loy Gidl bar Menashe. When I learned this halacha in the name of Rav Gidl, so I didn't learn who it was. I just learned it in the name of Rav Gidl, and I didn't say which, not Gidl bar Menashe, v'loy Gidl bar Minyaimi. I didn't say, we didn't hear if it was Gidl bar Menashe or Gidl bar Minyaimi. Ela Gidl Stama. I heard it in the name of Gidl Stam. Gemara asks, Lamai nafkim, what difference does it make if it was this Rav Gidl or another Rav Gidl? If there would be a question that you find somewhere else that he said otherwise, and you would have a question, so you would know how to answer it. But now that we don't know who it says, who said it, so you can't really ask a question. We don't know who said it. So there's the other famous shaila regarding being taim from Kiddush. Does only the Mekadesh have to be taim, or does everyone else have to be taim from the Kiddush as well if they want to be Yaitzer from the Kiddush? So the halacha b'payil is you don't have to be taim. But Alter Rebbe says it's still a mitzvah and a muvcher to be taim from the Kiddush. Mikadin you don't have to, but mitzvah and a muvcher to be taim from the Kiddush. People listening and being Yaitzer from the Kiddush, right? Okay, this is the conclusion of the Sugya of Kiddush. Now we come back to the Mishnah, B'Negea to Pesach. And we start with the first thing that the Mishnah said about Erev Pesach, not to eat in order to be able to eat the matzah b'teyavim. So it said in the Mishnah that you're not allowed to eat from Samach lemincha. So the question was asked, Samach lemincha gedayla tanan? Does this refer to mincha gedayla, which is mincha gedayla you daven a half hour after chatzai? So on a perfect day, going from 6 to 6, that would be 12:30. So then mincha gedayla, samach lemincha gedayla, half hour before would mean that from 12 o'clock you don't eat anymore. Or it means samach lemincha ketana, which is at the beginning of the 10th hour into the day, which would be, or actually it's a half hour after the 10th hour into the day. That's when mincha ketana is 3:30. So you can't eat from 3 o'clock. So the Gemara explains the reason for both Eifanim. Samach lemincha gedayla tanan. Do I say that it's already from 12 o'clock that you can't eat umishum Pesach? And the point is that it's for the carbon Pesach, that a person shouldn't go and sit down and eat a meal. Dilma asi lemimshach. You might get drawn into the meal that you're eating. Va'asi lemnua melameva pischa. And you'll be held back from, you won't go and bring your carbon Pesach on time. Is that the reason? Because of the carbon Pesach? Or perhaps it's not because of the carbon Pesach. The Mishnah means to say don't eat from 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And mishum matzah. And the reason is in order that you should be able to eat matzah properly, not fill yourself up with food before then, and then you'll eat matzah. You're going to come to eat matzah after you're totally stuffed, and then it's not eating. You're not fulfilling your mitzvah. The Rashbamir says that it's the same thing also b'negei at the carbon Pesach. That, in other words, not the hakrav of the carbon Pesach, but the achila of the carbon Pesach. That if you stuff yourself with food before, so then you won't be able to eat the carbon Pesach either. Elamai, in one pshat that Rashbam says, the Gemara mentions matzah because it's trying to show you that this is relevant even bizman hazeh, when there isn't a carbon Pesach, so you still don't eat from samach lemincha ketana in order to be able to eat matzah properly. So this was the shaila. What's the pshat of samach lemincha in the Mishnah? Amar Ravina said, Toshama, I'll bring you a raya from this brisa that says as follows: Afila agrifis hamelech, even agrifis hamelech, shehu ragel lechol b'teisha shois. So he eats his daytime meal in the 9th hour of the day. In other words, between 2 and 3. In that 9th hour, that's when he ate his daytime meal. But Oisei Yom, on Erev Pesach, lo yoichal. He should not eat his daytime meal, and he should not eat achet techshach until at night. That's the chiddush that this brayso is saying regarding a grifas hamelech. Now, if you're going to say that the Mishnah is saying that you're not supposed to eat from 3 o'clock going forward, so that's the chiddush here of agrifas hamelech, that he shouldn't eat even from between 2 and 3. He already shouldn't be eating. That's the brayso saying a chiddush, even though really he's supposed to stop eating from 3 o'clock, but it's telling you regarding agrifas hamelech that he should not eat until at night. But if you're telling me that the Mishnah was saying that already from 12 o'clock you're not supposed to eat, so Mayra Busid Agrifis, what's the chiddush here that it's saying that Agrifis shouldn't eat in the 9th hour? Already from 12 o'clock you're not supposed to eat Bechlal, so of course he shouldn't be eating until at night. So sagt the Gemara, Elo, so what are you going to tell me? Ela mai de bachetz. Ela mai samach lemincha ketanetnan. So the Mishnah is saying that only from the 10th hour in the day, in other words, from 3 o'clock, that's when you're not supposed to eat. But soft, but still the question will remain, mai rabuse da agrifis. What's the chiddush here of the case of agrifis that we say that he shouldn't be eating? Hamatile zman isura. The time of the isur comes when he eats. The Rashbam explains what the Gemara's question is. The question over here is, even though Agrifis used to eat in the 9th hour, which means he started eating 2 o'clock, which is really an hour before the Zman HaIsser is, from 3 o'clock. But he didn't eat from 2 to 3. He ate from 2 to 3, and his Suda would be Nimshach past 3 o'clock. And what the Braisa is saying over here is that Chachamim told him that he shouldn't be eating in this time on Erev Pesach because his Suda is going to be Nimshach after 3 o'clock. So because it's Nimshach after 3 o'clock, that's why he's not allowed. So if so, after 3 o'clock, anyways you're not allowed to eat. So what's the Chiddush that it's saying that Agrifas HaMelech is not allowed to eat? And then Rashbam adds another point. We learned before that once you start Beheter, so then according to one opinion, according to Rabbi Yossi, if you started Beheter, you're allowed to continue eating. So he started already 2 o'clock, so maybe he should be allowed to continue eating. So that's the Chiddush over here, that they told him not to eat until at night. But Rashbam says no. This whole heter of when you began beheter, you could continue eating, is if you began beheter and you weren't planning on eating later past the time that you're not allowed. But if you begin beheter and you plan on eating later, like in the case of Agrifas HaMelech, he would begin sometime between the hour of 2 and 3, and he would continue past 3 o'clock. If you begin with such an intention, you're not allowed to begin in that time. You know you're going to eat past 3 o'clock. So therefore the Gemara is asking the question, Sof, what's the Chiddush of Agrifas when they said that he's not allowed to eat at this time? Answers the Gemara, Mao de Teme, I would think that by Agrifas, this time period does not apply. Teisha shois la Agrifis, the 9th hour when Agrifis would usually eat is ka'arba shois didan. It's like in the 4th hour of the day for us, for normal dummy, for normal people. When do normal people eat? Their daytime meal in the morning, in the 4th hour of the day. In other words, between 9 and 10 o'clock in the morning. And then they don't eat until at night. They ate 2 meals a day, one daytime and one at night. And most people ate the daytime meal towards the morning, and then they didn't eat it, maybe snack during the day, but they didn't eat another meal until at night. Mashenken Agrifis, every single day, what would he do? Every single day he would eat his daytime meal between 2 and 3, and then he would eat at night. So you would think, since this is what Agrifis does every single day, so you can't say that there's going to be an Achila Gasa, he won't be able to eat at night. No, this is what he always does. So he eats this time by day, and then he is able to eat at night. And therefore, that is a Chiddush over here, Kamash Malan, that nevertheless, the Chachamim told him that he should not eat in this hour in the day, in order that he should be able to eat the matzah and the Korban Pesach at night. So the Gemara was paishit that the pshat in our Mishnah is Samuch lemincha ketana. It's from 3 o'clock that you're not supposed to eat. Rabbi Yossi said, Aval matbul hu b'mini tagima. Mini tagima, other kinds of things, of fruits and vegetables, or even fish, flesh, and things like that, meat and fish, you're allowed to eat. And the reason is, so there's 2 pshatim here that Rashi says, that the reason is because this is something that won't fill you. You're not concerned it's going to come to an achila gasa. But the Rashbam says, not only will it not fill you, but this actually whets your appetite to want to continue eating more later when you come to eating matzah. So Adarab, there's actually maybe an Indian to eat something, to open your stomach, to whet your appetite to eat. Rabbi Yitzchak matbul b'yarki. Rabbi Yitzchak would eat vegetables. Matbul, the expression here that's used, matbul, dip, is because that's the way it was in that times. Everything they would eat would be with a dip. It doesn't mean dafke matbul, but that's just the expression that's used there. Tanya Nami Yochi, we learned in the Braisa as well, Hashamish, the waiter that's preparing the food, matbul b'bnei mayin, he dips the bnei mayin, the intestines of the meat that he's preparing, v'noisnon l'fnei ha'orchem, and he serves the guests already on Erev Pesach that they should eat, in order to whet their appetite to eat. V'afal pisha ein raya l'davar, there's no raya that this should be done, but zeich l'davar, we have a remez in the pasuk shenema niru lechem nir, that you plow in a field, and that's where you could plant. And val tizru el kaitzim, don't plant in a place where there's thorns. So the same thing also when a person wants to have the appetite to eat, so you have to open your stomach and you eat a little bit before, and then you'll have your appetite to eat. Rava havashasa chamra kula ma'ila yom with the pischa. Rava would be drinking wine all day long on Erev Pesach. Kehechi de nigrere lelibe, so you should have the appetite in order to drink more and to eat later. The neichel matzah feilort, he'll drink matzah more. After drinking this wine during the day, he'll have a better appetite to eat the matzah at night. Omar Rava, so Rava said, Mino aminalo the chamre migrer gorer. From where do I see that drinking wine whets a person's appetite and he'll want to eat matzah more? Because the Tnan, it says in the Mishnah, we'll learn later, ben ha-kaisis halalu, between the kaisis, between the daled kaisis, imratza lishta is yishta. If you want to drink anything between the first and the second, or the second and third kais, you can drink. But ben shlishi l'revi, between the third and the fourth kais, lo yishta, you should not drink. Now, if you're going to say drinking more wine, will fill a person. So why between the first, second, and third kais should you drink? This will bring him to afterwards eat the matzah after he'll be filled already and he won't be eating the matzah properly. From here I see that drinking between the first, second, and third kais so this will not be an issue, even though this could be before you're eating matzah. It won't be an issue, but this will whet your appetite to drink more, and therefore then you're allowed to drink. But afterwards, between the third and fourth kais, you're not allowed to drink anymore, because it doesn't whet your appetite. You're already after the meal, and we don't want it to look like you're adding to the kais, so therefore then you're not allowed to drink anymore between the third and fourth kais. We'll see more about this in Mitzvah Shem when you learn there the Mishnah on Daf Kuf Yud Zayin. Okay.